What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Sports Prodigies podcast with your hosts. I'm Aiden.
And I'm Jeremy.
And today we are honored to bring on former Miami Hurricane and owner of Football Tech Premier Mobile Training, David Gilbert, to the podcast. Say what's up, Dave.
Hey, guys. How you doing, man? It's nice to talk to you guys.
Yeah, of course. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm just headed home after a long day, of training, getting these kids better.
Yeah.
That's my main job right now. I still got a passion for football, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to dive into that on this podcast. But before we get started, we just wanted to talk about our sponsor. 2020 has been a year of things happening that are completely out of your control, but there's one thing that you can control, and that's shaving. Our sponsors at Manscaped are here to remind you to do so. The thing that I love most about Manscaped is their Lawnmower 3.0. I think it's their best product. I love the razor on the product. It does a very nice job. I never cut myself while shaving. I would recommend for all males out there. And 10 out of 10, I love the product. I love Manscaped. So, Jeremy, what do you have to say?
Yeah, all Manscaped products are top-notch. They're all very good, top of the line. Like you said, the Lawnmower 3.0 is probably their most known product. It also really lives up to its name of the lawnmower.
Yeah, so to get your own Manscaped products, go to manscaped.com and use our code, capital SP2020, for 20% off and free shipping. It's a great deal. It helps out us at the podcast. It helps out you because you're getting amazing razors, and it also helps out Manscaped. So definitely don't forget to go use our code, capital SP2020, to get 20% off and free shipping. So let's get into the questions. So, Dave, what made you ultimately choose Wisconsin coming out of high school?
Oh, so that was a great choice, by the way. We ended up winning a lot of games. I think we were 11 and 10 and 3, 10 and 2, 11 and 2, 11 and 3. So after that was the best choice of all my offers, I would say. But my head coach had a good relationship with the D-line coach, Charlie Partridge, and he's over at Pitt now, still doing the recruiting thing. I saw him out at St. Thomas actually last year. But he's a great recruiter. He's a great D-line coach. He's put out a lot of talent in the NFL. J.J. Watt, just to name one. Myself, obviously. And, he's a great coach. He's also from South Florida. So he went to Plantation High School. So for me, that was a big advantage because I'm about to go to a place that it snows. I'm not used to that. And he was just there to be like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be worth it to get away from your comfort zone a little bit and get out of the heat for a little bit, So it definitely paid off. I'm definitely grateful for that opportunity and also taking advantage of that opportunity,
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, Dave is from South Florida, so that's why, going up to the cold in Wisconsin, I'm sure it was a big transition.
Yeah, I'd never seen snow before that, so it was very it was an exciting experience, but it's when it's cold it sucks, like it gets old, at least down here you have a choice. You can go in the house and blast the AC, but you can't get away from the cold, just like you can't get away from the heat down here. So
yeah, and
definitely a big change.
What would you say was your favorite moment while at Wisconsin?
No, so our best moment was definitely when we beat number 1 Ohio State at home. Just like, I think the main thing with that was I was on the kick return. So we started with the ball, and we had a really good player. He played in the NFL named David Gilbert. So it's weird because we had almost the exact same name,
Yeah.
right? So they're like, we're drawing up this kick return all week, and then I think one of our tight ends, Jake Byrne, he also played in the NFL. He got a concussion, so they just throw me out there in Jake Byrne's spot, in the tight end spot on the right. So I'm supposed to block the R5, which is the wedge buster, the closest one to the kicker, which is the biggest, usually like a linebacker or a D lineman. So they were like, yeah, just block him. You can just block. Everybody just did their job. We got to our blocks. I blocked that guy as long as I could, and then I was on the ground, and all I heard was the crowd just going crazy and just screaming. So I knew he was still running, and that was the very first play, you know what I mean, of the game. So obviously they never recovered from that, and they had Terrell Pryor, J.J. Watt went crazy. He had a bunch of sacks, but just to start out the game like that as a younger player, that did a lot just in building confidence to say that, like, if you do your job, if everybody does their job, we have a chance. That was my kind of moment, and just contributed to me being a coach and turning into a coach and all that stuff. That it's really true. Like, if everybody does their 1/11th, in basketball there's 5 people, so 1 out of 5. If everyone does their job and doesn't stand and watch, or try to do the other person's job or be in the next person's gap, good things do happen. So.
Was that?
Yeah, that sounds like a crazy moment. And one thing, like you keep saying, do your job. That's obviously like a Bill Belichick thing. So it just like rings a bell. Like obviously, like you being a coach and stuff. Like it's a good comparison.
Definitely, man. I would definitely want more, and I definitely want more of those moments because, we obviously won that game, like I said, and they stormed the field. I had my friends, from class and stuff like that. They found us, on the field walking around. So you never forget stuff like that. Then, you go out and party, obviously all night, and you never forget moments like that. But a lot goes into it. A lot of preparation definitely goes into that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
So what would you say stuck out about Miami after deciding to transfer there?
I mean, the biggest thing was, like, obviously, getting to play at both schools. They got a great football tradition at both schools. But the biggest thing was the stadium wasn't on campus. I think, it sounds like something small, but because in Wisconsin we sleep away anyway. Like, the travel team goes to a hotel anyway. You don't stay, at home. Only the redshirted players do. So you still drive into the stadium. You get what I'm saying? But for Miami players, and I think it's a big reason. Miami has the most players in the NFL. By far and away, especially if you look at the last decade or maybe two. Just guys, when you get to play in that stadium, you're playing in the Dolphin Stadium. Like, you don't use their locker room, obviously, but you really get to. One big thing of being an athlete in sports is visualizing where you want to be, visualizing the platform that you want to be on. So it's kind of like if we played at Lambeau, as Wisconsin, obviously we wouldn't do that, but they have played there before, and it goes just a long way in putting yourself in the shoes of being that NFL player. Obviously, you don't have to play for Miami, but if you play in the NFL, you're going to come to Miami, and if you played at Miami, you're always going to have the memories of coming in to the stadium, driving in, and seeing everyone's there for you, and you're going to be more comfortable playing in that stadium. You know what I mean? So that was the biggest difference for me, between both schools, because both schools have such good tradition, great players, Heisman Trophy winners. Football is a big deal, winning is a big deal. So I would say in that aspect, I was already ready for Miami, but that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, and a big thing about college football is the game day atmosphere. So which school had the bigger, louder game day atmosphere, in your opinion?
Yeah, I've only had 2 times where my ears started hurting on the field. One time was in Wisconsin versus Ohio State game that we were talking about earlier, and the second time was probably Nebraska at home. Where they really get the eardrums shaking and hurting. Mm-hmm. So I would have to say Wisconsin, just because the Badgers are kind of all they have. Mm-hmm. So that town becomes the second or third largest town in the state on game day, and then after game day it goes back down to like 5. So they got so many different people that are just diehards. There's way more diehards in Wisconsin than in Miami. But I would say they both have like probably the top 5 atmosphere. Very lucky, but just the effort that those Wisconsin people put into it, it's just a lot more than Miami. You could tell.
Yeah, and coming out of Miami, what NFL teams offered you after the draft, and what was appealing about Tennessee?
So actually, after the draft, I went undrafted. Had my pro day, and it wasn't really my best performance. So I was really going off of film. I played in a All-Star game, NFLPA game. So I had a lot of tape out, and I did some interviews with some NFL teams over there. So I was really surprised to see that Tennessee was the only team, that was interested in me right away after. I mean, obviously every player from University of Miami gets the opportunity with the Miami Dolphins. You get a workout, so you get to be in front of that staff. And then, but yeah, Tennessee was the only team that invited me for rookie mini camp that I knew about, And no, I went in there. I was training really hard with my trainer from American Heritage, Mike Smith. He's a great trainer. So I transitioned to linebacker. I never played linebacker a day in my life, but I went out there on the D line during rookie mini camp, and then they said, we want to put you at linebacker, at Sam linebacker. So I guess I kind of been fighting the transition for a while. I always wanted to play defensive line, but in the 3-4 scheme, the Sam linebacker is more of a defensive end, and he'll also take some of those athletic plays that you can do both at that position. So I was able to maximize, obviously my God-given abilities and things I was good at, because I was still getting the pass rush, probably 50% of the time, but then I'd be in coverage some of the time, which can be learned and can be done later on in your career, which is what I did. So it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and going off of your NFL experience, what was that feeling like when you first walked through the doors at the Titans training facility?
No, yeah, I remember that, man. They put a bunch of rookies on the bus, and you get there, and it's really surreal, because it's like you're living your dream, you know what I mean? So not a lot of people get to do that, and it's just a little surreal to be like, okay, I'm here, now what? Because it's a job. It's different than before. It's different than it being a hobby. It's different than it being an extracurricular activity. That's how you're going to make your money to buy your stuff that you want at the end of the day. And if you don't do a good job, or if someone feels you don't do a good job, it's a very highly competitive job. And sometimes, it's not that you're not good enough. It's just a business, right? Or we'll get back to you, and they don't get to get back to you, because it's business. So that part is like a lot different. You know what I mean? A lot of people are just used to being good enough, and that's okay. But, it's a business, and other people are making the decisions. So, who knows what can happen. And at the end of the day, you have to just go out there and have fun, because you can get a serious anxiety thinking about, how it's really not up to you whether you have a job, or you could just get immersed in the fact that you go out there and have fun, kicking ass, do what you're supposed to do, and the ride lasts a little bit longer than if you screw up all the time, So that, in the end, that's really what it's all about,
Yeah, and right now, I know you're trying to get back in the game, and you just attended the Spring League and received Defensive MVP. So what was it like to win that award, and what do you think that can have on the future impact of your career?
Oh, man, well, yeah, that was a lot of fun, and it was great to knock the rust off, after not playing pro ball for about 2 years, so just gotta, I think it can probably help me. They send out the film, to all 32 NFL teams and, all the CFL teams. So, if any team is really looking for a guy with more experience, It's not like I'm a rookie, but at the same time, it is harder to get in when you're a little bit older. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, you just go out there. Like I said, you leave it all on the field. You let the film talk for itself. People can sit there and they can tell you that, you're too old, you're too this, you're too that, you're too slow. But at the end of the day, that's just talk. You know what I mean? When you actually go out there, it's all about what you put on tape. So that being said, I always preach that to the guys that I coach, no matter what sport they play. I work with baseball players, lacrosse guys. It's all the same mentality. If you can sit there and let someone talk you to death, or you can line up and show them what you're about. So that's kind of what it was, out there. It was just going out there, cutting loose, getting back to the basics, back to what made you fall in love with the game, which is just going out there, kicking ass, doing what you're supposed to do, and doing it well and doing it faster than everybody. And if you do that, who knows what happens? Good things always happen when you go out there and kick ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I got to be honest, the message that you're really sending, it's really inspirational. And I think everybody that's listening should live life by this message. Just never give up, always keep trying. So I got to respect you on that. I wish you the best of luck in the future, obviously. But it's definitely a very inspirational message you're trying to push.
Definitely, man. Appreciate that because, Kobe Bryant, everybody knows that, we lost him, about 6 months ago. And that's been tough. But if you really look at the way that he lived his life, he didn't leave anything on the table, and there's the Mamba mentality that people talk about. It's like, would you do what you did if you weren't getting paid? Like he talks about guys get financially stable and then they stop playing hard, because they don't have to. Do you play because you have a passion for the game, or because you're a baller, because you always want to be the best, or do you just play, just to keep your job? So that was one of the biggest things that impacted my decision to even get back on the field, was seeing what happened to him. Obviously the great career he had, played 20 years and retired, God rest his soul. But I think that's a great message, and that's where my message came from. I don't want to take full responsibility and say like I'm this great guru, but I'd say that's definitely one big thing that had an impact on me. To try to get back out there as much as I can.
Yeah. So do you have any other future plans of like attending events like the Spring League to showcase your skills in the future?
Yeah, there's one in October in Las Vegas. I might have to, sign up and do that one just because, it's right there for me. It's right there. I think I could go out there and do it again, it won't hurt me. So, and it was a lot of fun, man. Once you go out there and you start having fun, and you realize that it's only a short amount of time that you got to go out there and even play ball. So it kind of changes your perspective. So I definitely do it again. And I definitely signed up for the one in Las Vegas in October.
Also, while you're trying to get back in the game, you're trying to build your company, Football Tech. So can you explain to us what exactly you do at Football Tech?
Yeah, so it's a hybrid of a lot of different things. So we're a mentorship, right? So to get your mind right, like I said, your mental when you approach your sport is very important. It's important if you want to self-improve and if you want to improve your performance, right? So it's very, very specific. We started out really doing only football players, but our programs, like we got our weight room program, we have speed training, we got footwork and agility, and just breaking down film and the IQ of everything. We started a nutrition program for different players that wanted to maybe gain weight or lose weight. We started working with a nutritionist. So we offer all those different services. So what happened was we started working with more athletes, more than just football players, obviously. We started working with some baseball players, to get their 60 time down, and lacrosse players, so we break down the sport. So what it all comes down to is just dedication, It's the same dedication that you take when you play the game. You break down the film, You see what the person's doing in live situations, how they can help themselves with mechanics and technique, and then building the total athlete out from the ground up. Starting with the core, breaking down your athlete into strengths and weaknesses, making them get comfortable working on their weaknesses all the time, and then building up their strengths at the same time. So it takes a lot, and there's a team. There's definitely a team aspect of it. It's not just me by myself. I bounce ideas off of Coach Tucker, one of my other friends that does it with me. He's a great athlete, state champion in the track. So we work together as a team to break down these athletes and just give them really what they need, have different perspectives. So my next plan really is to get into a building and do, total, not just football players, just kind of franchise it and do performance, right? Anything bigger, faster, stronger, come in there and start working with a movement specialist and start getting your body stronger, not just, your legs or your arms, but, everything starts from the core and goes out. So the weakest point on most athletes is their hips and their lower abdominals, right? Everyone usually focuses on the squats or on the bench and the lifts and the pushes and the pulls.
Mm-hmm.
So just by getting my athletes to do to work on those hips and lower ab muscles, and those core muscles throughout the week, it makes a huge difference, man. Being an athlete that went through a Division I program, they do a lot to change your body and what you're doing very quickly, right? You don't have a bunch of time. The season's always right around the corner. So you learn how to transform yourself really quickly, right? When my strength coach, Ben Herbert, he's at University of Michigan right now. He's still transforming guys. So they want you to get bigger, stronger, faster, and with better technique like yesterday. Learning that way, and then learning things on my own, being a pro athlete on your own for a while, you really learn how to transform an athlete, not just on the outside, but on the inside, making them more effective and within their own craft, making them a better hitter, a faster sprinter,
Mm-hmm.
make better moves and visualize what's going to happen in the game before it happens, which is all part of being an elite athlete.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, I've been training with Dave since I think like September, right?
Yeah, it's almost been a year now.
Yeah, and since then I've seen major drastic improvements.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, man. That's great.
Yeah,
That's what we do it for.
Yeah, and to wrap it up today, one last question I want to ask you, Dave. What is one thing you want people to know about David Gilbert that they might not know already?
I just want people to know that I don't do what I do, for money. Like obviously, your time's valuable when you put a lot of heart into it. But just that, what we do here, it's from the heart. We train our athletes the same way we would want to be trained. We push guys and girls. We got some lacrosse players, some soccer players that we're training sometimes. We push everyone the way we want to be pushed because we want them to go farther than we went. Coach Tucker also, did some CFL workouts and stuff like that. So professional football, we're all professionals. And the main thing, I don't really care, if you play one game or if you play, if you go pro. The biggest thing for me is to have an impact on an athlete to where they have more self-confidence in themselves. They have an improvement. They do something better. They run faster, and I want them to know that they did that. I never take credit for these guys, what they do. They're the ones that put in that work and put in that time. And, it all comes back out when you go to cash out later on when it's time to perform. So, the biggest thing I would want anybody to know is that we're definitely expanding. We're building our team up so we can reach more people. And the most important thing to us is definitely people. Like, we want to see all our athletes succeed to the point that we can succeed. We know not everyone's a professional athlete, but we definitely want them to get as many gains from us and learn as much as possible. So
yeah, that sounds great. And we wanted to thank you for coming on, Dave. It means a lot. We obviously wish you the best of luck in the future, and we really hope that you make it back to where you once were.
Nah, man, definitely appreciate it. So there's no L's in this, man. When you always do your best, you know, success will always find you. So I firmly believe that.
Yeah. And thank you for listening. If you're on YouTube, go subscribe. If you're on Spotify, go follow us at the Sports Prodigies. And don't forget to like this video. Signing off with your hosts, I'm Aiden.
And I'm Jeremy.
And everybody have a great day. Thank you.